speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm M. I'm M. I'm M. Who you with, Kirk? I'm M. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm M. I'm M. I'm M. I'm M. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. I'm M. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome. I'm M. Welcome to speak on it. Welcome to speak on it. I'm in. Welcome to speak on it. Welcome to speak on it. I'm in. Welcome to speak on it. Welcome to speak on it. I'm in. Welcome to speak. Welcome to speak. I'm in. 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 I'm in. Who you with, Kirk, dog? Welcome to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, dog. I'm in. Who you with, Kirk? Happy Sunday to everyone. I want to welcome everyone on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, Twitter. D Live is always kicking it in the house. Hopefully y'all had a great weekend. I had what did I do this weekend? I don't know, but it was a great weekend. As you read the title, history was made this week in North Texas, the DFW area, with Little M electing the first black mayor, and also after 40 years, the city of Grand Prairie have two black city councilmen that is ready to work and is ready to serve the city. So shout out to them. We're gonna hit on that a little bit, and also, we're going to talk about a couple other things too. You know, your boy is back in the news, not talking about much at all. But I know a lot of people are watching the fight tonight, so I'm not going to hold y'all too long tonight. But this historic election that happened on yesterday, as we can see the changes that are happening, starting with Cornelious out of Little M, Texas. He's the first black mayor of Little M, Texas. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that's a good thing. Welcome to the show, Ken Drayden, watching on Facebook. You could live chat with us during the chat. Look like you're on my personal page. So if you go over to speak on it with who you with, Kirk, dog, you can actually, once you start chatting, you can actually, I can put your chat in the chat up on the screen also. I'll put the link up in just a minute. But with Curtis Cornelius, that went up under the radar. I was online early and seen him, and I was like, oh, really? That was kind of surprising. I didn't know a brother was running for the city of Little M. So that's a wonderful thing, and I'm glad that the brother did run for mayor, and he also won. It was 53.8%. We still need to get our voter numbers up. 1,997 votes to his opponent, 46.2% of the vote, which it was only 1,712 votes for them. So we still need to get out and vote. Some of these elections, which is great that we won, but the numbers need to be higher than this, because that's the only way they're going to take us serious enough when it come down to to our local and our state elections, because that's where the influence of our laws come from. So we need to show up just like we do every 4 years in November. We need to also show up for every election the same way, because if not, they're going to be like, oh, they just going to be on here talking, and they just doing all talk. They marching and protesting. They not concerned about you marching and protesting. They become concerned when you march and protest at the poll. So that's congratulations, Curtis Cornelius. I'm glad that you did go out on faith and run, and you was able to win your election. Um, and then I know y'all tired of me talking about the city of Grand Prairie, but Grand Prairie is another case where when Junior Ezeonu and Kurt Johnson came onto the show, they talked about some of the issues in the city of Grand Prairie, where the former city council would send out a survey, but would not send out a return address envelope for the citizen can respond to the survey. So basically, they really did not want to know your opinion about what they're trying to do. And then both of the city councils that lost actually have done, in my opinion, they haven't done anything for the city of Grand Prairie. Um, and someone reached out to me and said that um, one of them, Jeff, I think his name is Jeff Woodridge or whatever, he actually said, well, you should know my record. And the person said, well, I don't know what your record is, and I've been here for a long time. So what type of record do you have? What do you stand for? And he talked about one particular zip code, uh, talking about how it's number 11 in Texas as the richest zip code in Texas. And that's all he talked about. And I asked the person, I said, well, what did you say to him? And they told me, they said, look, I kept asking questions because he wouldn't answer questions. And said I would asking him particular questions, but he never would answer them. So the person said they just came out and asked him, hey, are you reading my questions, or are you just overlooking my questions? So basically, he was a leader that felt because he'd been there for 12 or 13 years, he automatically should get a pass. And he don't care about the citizen of Grand Prairie. He only cared about, excuse me, one particular zip code in Grand Prairie. And that's not the type of leaders that we need that we need in position. Excuse me. So that's very interesting on that. So I guess he could pack his office up and move out now. Congratulations to Kurt Johnson, who is uh, a retired veteran. I believe he served in the, and I could be wrong, I believe he served in the Navy and he retired from it. If I'm thinking I remember that right, what he said on the show, but I know he is retired from the military. So shout out to Kurt Johnson for taking a stand and also being able to um, stand up for the citizen of the city of Grand Prairie. I'm excited about, from talking with you, I'm excited what you're going to bring to that city. And hopefully, and this with any elected officials, and I say this with anybody, it's nothing personal. If you talk about you're going to do something, do what you say. Because if not, And when it's a re-election time, I will go against you. Now, I'm saying that, but talking with Kurt Johnson, it actually, I feel that he's going to do exactly what he say. He's going to do everything he said. And Jeff Light Jr., when I got up this morning and cut my phone on, um, I had received a text from Kurt Johnson, and he was like, I won. And it took me a while before I responded back because I'm like, hey, I was excited that this brother won because I believe in what he's saying. And just like Junior Zeno, I believe in what he said also when I first met him. I was like, man, you sound like a young Barack Obama. So I believe in what both of them are saying, and I can see some great things getting ready to come to the city of Grand Prairie. So if you are in the city of Grand Prairie, y'all need to rally behind them. I appreciate y'all for showing up and voting for them and putting them in office because these two young brothers, um, matter of fact, Junior, I believe, is 23 years old. So he can make a big difference and a big influence with the younger crowd. So I think there's some big things coming up with the city of Grand Prairie, with the two of them being on the city council, and rally behind them if it's needs that y'all need. You know, get to know them. Get to know them. They, from what I received from the both of them, they there to serve the community, like a elected official should be serving their community. So I appreciate both of you, and for allowing me to be a part of it. Um, I know that day after the election, there's a lot going on. So I really appreciate y'all because I believe in exactly what y'all said, and it took a lot of prayer because even uh, I guess some people messed around and decided, oh, let me go to Kurt Dog page and leave some messages. So had a couple of them come in overnight, and I said, I guess they haven't got the results yet. Because by that time I didn't know. But congratulations to the both of them. Um, wish I was in the city of Grand Prairie because I would love to see the outcome that is getting ready to happen with the city of Grand Prairie. And I appreciate y'all for doing what you're doing. If you are in the city of Grand Prairie and you had the opportunity to vote in this election, let us know in the chat. And also, even if you didn't vote, what are some things, some changes you would like to see in the city of Grand Prairie? It's something I would like to know because it's a lot of things that is going on in the city of Grand Prairie that need to change, need to change. And I've heard the lies. They even took snippets of the video when they was on the show and try to switch it around and lie on them. But when God is in control, you could try to beat them personally, but as long as God is leading them, there's no way you can defeat them. So so I'm happy for those brothers, and they're trying to get it scheduled where they can come on the show and be able to thank everyone that voted for them. So um, so that was a wonderful thing dealing with these two brothers. And even though even though um, we text each other all the time and talk occasionally, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. Happy for Curtis Cornelious, the brother in Little M, And Cornelious, if you get this video, because I don't know, you never met you, but I'm proud of you. And if you get this video, if you ever want to come on the show, you're more than welcome to come on also. Um, Kendra said, I voted for both. God is in control. Hey, I feel you on that because it's definitely yeah, I have a lot of friends that live in Grand Prairie. When the initial voting took place, I sent out a text to everybody I knew in Grand Prairie, and I'm like, look, y'all need to get behind these guys. This is the real deal right here, because they know exactly what's going on in the city of Grand Prairie. Now, it's a lot of things that is going on behind the scene that a lot of residents don't know anything about. But when you have somebody in there fighting for you, it's a complete different. One thing that was said on the show when they was on the show was they want to make the contract fair, because in that bond election that the city of Grand Prairie they did pass, but somewhere down in a small print, they wanted to make it where the city council can choose who get the contract and who not, instead of putting it up for bid. Now, one thing that was said on the show, they would love if a contractor, which is within the city of Grand Prairie, if it's something that can fulfill the bid, they would love to work with the citizen. If not, put it up for bid. But the former city councils, they basically wanted to pick and choose who got the contract, who didn't get it. So basically, if they have a family member say that they have a construction business, or they can fulfill a contract, they can easily give that contract to them with no question asked, and they become millionaires right off the bat, and may not even have the experience in it. Because you can always get a contract and then turn around and subcontract it to someone. And that's what the former city councils was trying to do. So I appreciate the city of Grand Prairie reading between the line, and I know what's real and what's not real. And what the former city councils have done, they've lied. I've received the messages, the message they left, and they put on different um, platforms. So I've received them. I've received at least 2 or 3 complaints today, and I'm like, hey, take it to HR. Oh, damn, that will be me. Oh well. Hey, T Cal, welcome to the show. Glad you can make it in. You in kind of early. Well, I thought it was early, but the sun is still bright. I guess all that rain got it shining bright. But yeah, I'm glad that these 2 brothers did win, and I cannot wait for the difference they're getting ready to make for the city of Grand Prairie. Also, like I said, I'm not going to hold you long. I'm going to talk about a couple of stories, then we're going to get up out of here, because I know a lot of people are trying to watch the fight tonight. I'm not going to waste no money on it, but okay. Um, so last year, I don't know if y'all remember, um, this young lady, Shauna Bell, out of uh, Ohio, Liberty Township, Ohio. She was arrested last year for leaving her kids in a motel while she worked down the street at Little Caesar, trying to take care of her kids, doing what she have to do to take care of her kids. Now the kids are aged 9, 7, and 3. and they were just right down the street, and the ex-boyfriend or somebody called the police on her. Called the police. She was arrested, and here it is. Have it been a year or almost a year later? Um, the judge decided to throw the charges out, which is good. So, and I believe on that particular show, I said, you know what? I was raised by a single parent, and you have to do what you got to do. Um, the kids were 9, 7, and 3. The 9-year-old, and I think she was just literally in the shopping center right next to the hotel. It would have took every bit of 2 or 3 minutes to walk there. But she got arrested, charged, and the judge seen it fit that um, he seen no reason for charging her for the simple fact she was doing what she had to do to take care of her kids. And she did receive a lot of report. Um, I did receive some donation, which with those donations, she looking at trying to get a house for her kids and put them in a better position than what they was in before. So congratulations, uh, Shauna Bell. Um, but some kids today is a complete different. TCal said, I'm happy those brothers got in. At least they have the opportunity to try. Yes, they have the opportunity to try. That's a good thing. Um, also said, that's good. I'm glad the judge gave her a break. Yes, because a lot of time people would take that and use that against them, and that's what the father, the ex-boyfriend, did, was try to use it against her. And I'm glad she was able to get out of it and um, continue to be with her kids and give them a better opportunity. And to all the people that donated to her, I also appreciate that because um, a lot of people seen the need. She's working hard trying to take care of 3 kids. Now, my thing is the father, instead of you calling the police, why don't you say, hey, I'll watch the kids while you're at work? But instead, you trying to mess her life up. How that work out for you? So that's I'm glad she was able to get it. TCal said it's kind of tough call for the 3-year-old. Um, yeah, the 3-year-old kind of questionable, but um, the 9-year-old and the 7-year-old, I believe the 9-year-old, because I guess they was going to work with her at first because she said in the news report that they her daughter asked if she could stay at the hotel, if she could stay in the room, and she felt she was mature enough to be able to watch the 7 and 3-year-old, which the 7 and 9-year-old pretty. Some of them are pretty mature, and this young lady, she was like, she even said in the news report, I take full blame. I had to do what I had to do for my kids. So that's a strong mother right there, because a parent, a good parent, would do whatever you have to do for your kids. Um, TCal said, I'm glad it worked out for her, though. I'm glad it did too. Which that's a hard call, but hey, sometime it be that way. Um, also, we're gonna hit on this real quick because I know some people probably gonna. It seems like as soon as I say it, they probably gonna rush in. But Trump advances dangerous um, disinformation campaign as more states move to restrict the votes. Basically, he's saying he's going to be back in office sooner than later. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So this fool still think he's going to get back in office. And he did a speech at the Republican, um, I guess at a Republican speech in North Carolina over the weekend. And they say Donald Trump's speech before the North Carolina Republican Party Saturday night was a reminder of the danger the former president posed as he undermined American election system while attempting to reassert himself as kingmaker on the national stage. Um, his address to the party faithful was a familiar screed to anyone who tuned in to his 2020 campaign rally. He attacked President Biden's foreign policy maneuver, claimed Biden is destroying the economy, insisted he deserved more credit for the rapid development of COVID-19 vaccine, and argued that the radical left and cancel culture and destroying America freedom. But it was his continued disinformation campaign about the November presidential contest that was most disturbing, in part which the past few months have proved that Trump lies are now accepted as gospel by the majority of the Republican. At a time when followers of QAnon and online forums supported of Trump have tried the deadly military co-op and as a remedy that should occur in the United States so Trump can be reinstated. Recent polls show that a majority of Republicans believe the 2020 election was stolen, despite the fact there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And the former president continued to excuse me, continued to fan those flames of disinformation on Saturday night, stating that the 2020 election would go down as the crime of the century. He congratulated Republican State Senate in Arizona who have forced a shame audit of the 2020 election results from that state, largest county, and praised state lawmakers in Pennsylvania and Georgia who are following suit by exploiting additional recount and audits of their election results. We're not going to have a country if you don't have election integrity and you don't have strong borders. Our country can be run like a dictatorship, and that's what they like to do. Trump said they want to silence you. They want to silence your voice. Remember, I'm not the one trying to undermine American democracy. I'm the one that's trying to save it. The former president also praised states like Texas, Florida, and Georgia that have advanced lawmaking it harder for Americans to vote, measure that will disproportionately affect Black and Latino Americans by curtailing vote by mail option, ballot drop box, and extended hours that provide more access for shift workers. The law in Texas proposed to pass until Democratic stage a late night walkout that deprived the House of quorum to pass it before the legislation section ended. So this story is very, it's not interesting. It's sound like a joke because Trump still think he's coming back to office. Nah. And for people who still think that Trump is coming back in August, because he even said He's coming back sooner than later, speaking as if he's coming back in office in August, which is crazy. Um, that's why whatever states it is, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, um, North Carolina, if you are in those states and anybody that is going along with this foolishness need to make sure when their election come up, you need to vote them out. That's why it's so important that you get out and vote in every election. Because if you don't, we have results like this. That's why I said Greg Abbott have to go. Um, Dan Patrick have to go. Ken Patson have to go. Even the Board of Education need to be reformed too. For the simple fact, they don't want to teach the real history of America in our schools. How can we not teach it? And it's part of American history. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It all needs to be taught to our kids. Because if it's not taught, well, what's going to happen then? It's going to fade away and it's going to be forgotten about. That's why 100 years, we just remember 100 years of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre last week. And if it wasn't for that history being taught, down the line, that would have been a history that was erased. And then on top of that, that's not the only massacre that ever took place in the USA, because the thing is, it been many of them. North Carolina, back in the days, blacks were thriving real good in the insurance business. Well, guess what? Once they start thriving and they built their Wall Street up in North Carolina, well, white mob came in, burnt them down, forced them to get out. Even the fact of voting, same thing. Rosewood. We all seen, I don't know if you all seen the movie Rosewood, but with Vin Ring, that happened in Florida. Some people may say that was a great movie, but that was a true movie of what happened back then. And that's the way that they do it. All because this little Becky decided to lie to her husband and said it was a black man that beat her, but the reality, it wasn't. It was the white man you was having an affair with. And because of that, they came through. They killed our ancestors. Um, they burnt them, burnt down the town, and all of that. And it's more than just that. In just about every city or majority of America, it been a lot of racist massacres that went on. It's a reason why they call Texas Hang 'em High, Texas. It's not just the old saying, it's a true fact. Because in Texas also, they also hung black folks. So when you look at the great debater, when they was coming through Texas, going down to a debate, and they rolled up on people that was these guys that was being lynched, they rolled up on them and they had to back up out of there for they wouldn't be part of the victim. That's true history of America. So the thing is, the reason why Greg Abbott and the rest of those clowns do not want the real true history of America taught in our schools, because they are ashamed of their ancestors. And if someone did history of their family tree, you probably realize it was some of their families that was doing it. But now what they have done, they put down their sheets and they pick up uniforms to be police officer. They pick up robes to be judges, and also nice three-piece suits to be politician. And what they're going to try to do is do voter suppression that way to keep black, Latinos, and anybody up against them from voting in their community. So that's why I talk about voting so much, because we have to do something different. And I'm ashamed of these numbers that came up for this last election. Yes, it was a little bit more than the one back in May, I believe it was. It was a little bit more, but the thing is, we should have higher numbers. We should be, everybody should be rushing to the polls to make a difference. We saying we want changes, but we're not doing anything different than what we've done in the past. The only way you're going to get changes unless you get up off your butt, go to the poll and vote. And that's how you get changes, because you cannot depend just on myself or a few folks to go out and vote. And here it is. You want us to do it by ourselves, but it take a village to make a change, just like it take a village to raise a child. Well, guess what? We are the kids of the village, and it's going to take all of us to come together and vote. So other than that, I'm up out of here tonight. Love each and